Hello, everyone. This is Derek Kwan, Executive Director at your Lead Center of Kansas, and I am so happy today to welcome the longtime pianist with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis, and also the pianist with all of Wynton Marsalis' small groups, Mr. Dan Nimmer. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Derek, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, man, it's great to see you. Yeah, you know what? We'll start out. How long now have you been a member of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra?
Well, it's going to be coming up on 16 years, actually. I joined 2005.
Yeah, you know what? I think I remember giving you a call like over the holidays of 2004.
Right.
It was like around Christmas time in 2004.
Right.
And I remember I believe you came at the recommendation of Wessel Warm Daddy Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
That's correct. That's my man. I was playing at a club in Brooklyn called Pumpkins.
Yeah,
And
Pumpkins.
and he was running the jam session. Actually, he was subbing for someone, Brad Lely, who was running the jam session. And I had never met Wes before. And
Wow.
we hit it off musically. You know, I was really young and green then. But he was really nice. He took me under my wing and he said, you know, I love your playing. Don't be surprised if you get a call from Jazz at Lincoln Center, from Wynton. And those kind of things, I've heard in the past. I thought maybe he's just being nice, like a nice mentor. But actually, you're the one who called me. And I don't know if you remember correctly, but what happened was I actually didn't start playing with the orchestra right away. I joined the small group shortly after that next year for the first 4 or 5 months, and then I was asked to join the big band. But yeah, that's right. You were the first one I talked to. You said we were going to do Big Train. I remember that.
Man, that's crazy. Gosh, it's been I can't believe it's been 16 years already.
Yeah, I know, right? Time is flying.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I want to congratulations first of all for your tenure in the orchestra and the small group.
Thank you.
That's just an amazing run right there. I mean, just looking at 16 years of and the amount of, and we'll get to some of the artistic product that you created over the last 2 decades, essentially. But I want to also thank you for your really wonderful contribution to the Rock Chalk Suite and your movement that is in honor of the great Charlie B. Black. You know, one of these KU basketball legends that isn't necessarily a household name, but but is the only 4-time All-American for KU.
Right.
And you wrote this beautiful song called CB's Theme. And if you don't mind sharing your concept behind that movement, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, of course. Well, when I first got asked to do this, I had the option of composing a song and arranging it. And I said, you know what? I haven't done a lot of big band arranging. Most of my arranging has come from trio writing and small group writing. So I haven't delved into a lot of that quite yet. And that's the key word, yet, because I'm looking forward to doing a lot of that in the future. So I wrote this song for Charlie B. Black, and to be honest, I didn't know of him. Of course, like you said, he's not a household name.
Right.
So I was given some material, some documentation from the Lead Center, from you guys. And then I did a little bit of research on my own end. And I didn't come up with a lot of info. There wasn't too much documentation other than statistics and his kind of career and his life up until a certain point. Obviously, no footage because he was playing in the early 40s. No actual video footage of him. So I had to get creative. Like you said, he was the first 4-time All-American to receive that award. So basic thing, I took that number. I thought, okay, what can I do with 4? What's the most obvious thing? 4/4 swing, right?
Yeah.
So it had got to be that. So, and that's really in my wheelhouse. That kind of, I love straight ahead. I love, everyone who knows me knows that I love playing on the swing rhythm. I love all that stuff, which we all do. So in writing this composition, I was thinking, what can I do to depict what I know about him just from the few photos and his career. So I went pretty basic as far as form-wise. I took, we have a thing in music called a 32-bar form,
yes.
A-A-B-A, and that's what I used, but I actually extended each section by 8 bars. but it doesn't feel like that. It's actually a 64 bar form. But it goes by fairly fast because of the tempo. And I had each section represent a different season of his. So the first A section was that first season he had with the Jayhawks. The second A section was the second season. They're very similar statistically too when you look at his numbers. And then the bridge is actually depicts his departure for his tour of duty when he went off to World War II in 43.
Yeah.
So and then there's a buildup at the end of the bridge. The last 8 bars is a huge buildup to his final season, his third season with the Jayhawks, which was his most prominent and most successful season. So just little things like that. And I wanted to write a song that kind of depicted what I thought he might have been like, just because there was no firsthand information. He seemed like a cool guy. There's a really great picture of him almost dunking. But I tried to write a catchy melody. It's kind of
it is such a catchy melody, man.
Oh, thank you.
It is. It's one of those melodies that just sticks in your mind. It's that beautiful and it's that swinging. And so,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to. It's kind of like what I do with any of my compositions. I've recorded 7 albums as a leader, and each record I put 2 or 3 originals, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But every tune, it's kind of serves the same purpose. It's the music is for the people. I want to bring joy to the listener, and not get away from writing for the sake of music, but also realize that this is supposed to be enjoyed for the people. So I always try to think about what will the people enjoy.
Man, I love that. I love that philosophy, because you're absolutely right. Music is for, I personally think it's the purpose is to bring joy, happiness, and also to match a certain mood that you might be feeling at a certain time. But if it's not relatable, then it's that much more difficult for that particular music to be relevant. So,
absolutely.
Hey, so can I ask you a little bit about the conversations that you had with Carlos about the arranging aspect of CB's theme?
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of I gave him a lead sheet. I put together a lead sheet of the melody of the tune, and I actually recorded a version for him.
Nice. From
my piano, and I gave him, so he had something to base it off, so he's not just looking at the music. So I gave him, and it wasn't just a MIDI, like a electronic recording. I actually sat down and played. I think I actually maybe overdubbed and added a bass part too, just so he had an idea of the feeling, because it's sometimes difficult to just look at something without figuring what the intent of the feeling of the music is. So I told him I wanted it to be kind of straight ahead, and just different things about where the bridge was supposed to open up. Just little things like that. And he took it and he flew with it. He was, he's one of my favorite arrangers, as all the other guys in the band. They all do something completely different.
Yeah.
And so it actually was funny how it came about is that I chose him to arrange the song because we were in Marciac, I believe. Mm-hmm. And right when I had been commissioned to write this piece, and we just happened to be talking, and I was like, man, how would you feel about arranging this piece for me? He said, yeah, of course, I'll do it. Just give me the lead sheet. And then I remember I was somewhere in Europe after that, because I had stayed over with my family, and he got it done pretty fast. And he sent me a finale mock-up recording of it. And I remember playing it through my Bluetooth speakers. I was like, man, this is great. I love it. It's great to hear. It's great to hear your music when it comes from a small group, and then hearing someone else's vision, because ultimately it's his vision on top of, my vision. So
that's right.
It was he expanded beautifully.
It turned out wonderful. And Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to just say he basically stuck to what I gave him as far as the minimal instructions I gave him were to be swinging, to have interaction, to have a solo section that matches the form. And the only thing he added was a beautiful interlude. It has his own that Carlos stamp on it. So he put his little stamp on it. That's great.
Yeah.
To be expected.
I love it. I love it. And you know, during the premiere, the night before, I want to thank you for, you know, you were able to interact with the sponsor, the donor from Kathy Daykoff.
Kathy.
Yeah, and it was great to see the interactions between you and Kathy. And also, you know, during the recording session, it was so fun for a lot of the folks from Kansas to be able to interact with you all again at the House of Swing. That just so memorable. And all of you, I mean, you're so kind all the time, and you're so gracious. So I just want to really express my gratitude to you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's our pleasure, and it's really a wonderful thing, especially to have interact, like we said, Kathy Daykoff, interacting with her, to have that kind of support in the arts. It's irreplaceable. We especially now, we need that kind of thing more than ever. But yeah, I remember that night. That was beautiful. All the sponsors for the different movements came out, and we had a beautiful dinner, and we had the house jazz band. I remember that.
Yeah, there was those were some KU students, which was
right.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
And they were ecstatic to be able to perform amongst people like you, amongst artists like yourself. So
it makes it more real when you get to meet the people behind the scenes and people who support it. And then speaking about the recording session, like you said, that was also incredible, because we actually recorded this in our hall in Rose Hall, and we've done that before, but not with necessarily people in the audience. Of course, it wasn't full. It was you guys, and just to have that vibration of you guys in the audience, it was something special. You know, it meant something more to us. You know, sometimes it could be a little difficult to play on a stage and record to an empty room. So
that's
really
a great point.
brought light to the music, I think.
That's a really great point, Dan. And it was just so memorable. So thank you. And
thank you, Derek.
I want to shift a little bit to your prolific, recordings, and your. I think you are a star in Japan, to be honest with you. I'm aware of a number of different recordings that you recorded as a leader with the Damn Nimmer Trio on Venus Records.
Right.
And the really legendary Japanese record producer Tetsuo Hara. So if you don't mind sharing some information about that, and we'll make sure to put some links to how to access some of those records and whatnot, that'd be awesome. So if you don't mind letting us know your experience during that time period with Venus Records.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, the Hara family has been very nice to me, very gracious with my artistry, and they've been supporters for me from day one. I recorded my first album. Actually, it coincided with the first year I was with Wynton, with the Lincoln Center Orchestra. I recorded my first album, T for Two, and since then I've done 7.
Wow!
And
wow.
I've done. I took a couple of years off. I have 2 kids, so I took some time off from doing that just because I was so busy with the Lincoln Center Orchestra. I didn't have a lot of time to devote to recording. But for a while, I was putting them out every year, and they wanted me to do things like that, which is great. It was really helpful for me to be able to do that, because piano trio for me is one of my big passions. That's what got me into the music. Oscar Peterson, people like that, Wynton Kelly, Harold Garner, Red Garland. So to be able to put out records at such a young age, I felt really proud and honored to be able to do that. And it's a great record label. They have great distribution and great ways to get the music out there. They make great sounding records. I think it's a very distinct sound. It's very Japanese kind of
Hyper Magnum sound.
Hyper Magnum sound. It's different. It's not.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's different. Different concept of sound, but I dig it, and that kind of really helped me out early on when I was first starting out to have, you know, those few first records. I was able to record with the great late Jimmy Cobb.
Yeah.
On one record, we did a tribute to Wynton Kelly.
Yeah.
I remember being scared out of my mind hearing. I had played with him a little bit before. We had a rehearsal, but I remember being in the studio and, you know, wearing headphones like this and just hearing that cymbal beat and just being really distracted. I'm like, that's the cymbal beat that played on Kind of Blue, and
that's right.
All those records, countless incredible records. So yeah, a lot of great experiences have come. I did one with Peter Washington and Louis Nash, but the bulk of the recordings have been with my regular trio with David Wong on bass, and Pete Van Nostrand on drums, and those are two of my favorite musicians. I can't wait to get back and play with them.
Yeah, you know, those that unit that you've created with David and Pete. I mean, it's wonderful to see when a trio or just any unit in general, ensemble, be able to stay together for that long and be dedicated to each other for that long. And I think that's part of, you know, something that's probably part of the legacy of, you know, the Jazz at Lincoln Center vibe.
Absolutely.
Is creating that sound and creating that feeling, that vibration that comes from having that experience together and that loyalty to each other. So that's wonderful. And so congratulations on all those.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that you've been extremely busy, you know, over the last several months during the pandemic, because Jazz at Lincoln Center has not slowed down on creating online resources, and, you know, especially being part of the rhythm section for, you know, basically for Jazz at Lincoln Center, you know, arguably in certain situations is the most time consuming, that, you know, especially for the camp, the summer camp that occurred last month. So, but I want to ask you, there's been some great initiatives, online initiatives that have come out of Jazz at Lincoln Center. One of them actually, I think, featured your kids. And if you don't mind talking about that would be awesome, because I think family is so important, I know, to you. And then, you know, family during this pandemic has been, obviously everybody has been able to spend so much more time with their family. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know family is important to you and as well. And so, yeah, that's one of my big things is, family. For me, that's my huge inspiration in this music. I mean, they're the ones that make me happy. They're the ones that, you know, support me every day. So they're the ones that fuel the music. I mean, the music kind of depicts your playing, kind of is a relation to how you're feeling, I feel like. And so in general, my music I try to relate a lot of happiness and joy in my music. So if I don't have them, you know, it's going to be a whole different Dan Nimmer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been doing a lot of stuff, and the thing you mentioned was it was a student blues project,
right?
That they came at us, education department, that sent us an email, and at first I saw it, I was like, okay, cool. They want us to recite. They had students all over the world send in blues stanzas, like different blues paragraphs or lyrics they had written without any music. Just I think they were given some kind of format, like write the sentence and figure out how it would relate to a blues. Maybe they had
and how they're expressing their emotions during the time of the pandemic, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So it was supposed to be based on how they were feeling during COVID time. So me being not like a singer per se, and there was also an option to recite it. So I was like, oh, that's cool too, but maybe I'll try to sing it. And then I had this idea. I'm like, my kids, this is great, because, you know, kids they don't have a filter. They don't have they're not shy yet for anything. They're not self-conscious. They're game for anything. Yeah. I mean, yeah, kids, art, everything, dancing, everything. So I figured out, okay, I'm going to write this little melody. And we've been doing this at home just in general and not filming it. But we sing all the time, but we don't document it. I mean, we document it, but it doesn't go on YouTube. So, okay. So I was like, kids, we got a big project ahead of us. So I wrote out, I had the whole lyrics written on a big piece of paper. And this is before I got all my gear. So I had wires everywhere, like trying to get the microphone and making sure everyone could be heard because I only had the one mic, and I also had to pick up the piano. And yeah, we did a few takes of this song. I taught them the melody of this tune, and my kids are, just because of the nature of, we're always playing music. You see all the records behind me.
Yeah.
We let them pick out, well, especially when my daughter's 9 now, especially when she was younger, we would let her pick out a record every day for dinner. And she got excited. She got so excited because I'd be like, wow, how did you know to pick? It's so great. But little did she know, everything on the wall is great.
Yeah.
She thought she was like, it's a winner every time, you know. There's no bad records up here.
I love it.
So they have a lot of musical training just by being, you know, my wife loves music. She's not a musician per se, but I met her through the music in Japan. She was working at a record store, so she has a really appreciation for this music too. So they have big ears, I would say. They have really open ears.
I'm sure they have wonderful ears too. So
yeah,
you know.
So I was able to teach them this song fairly quickly, and we did a bunch of takes. I had if you watch the video, my kids are sitting next to the keyboard too. I'm playing the piano. They're facing the thing and the camera, and my daughter plays some organ and blues fills. And at the very end, my son, who was 3 at the time, hits the E flat right at the end and holds it. It's great.
Yeah.
we have practiced that. But yeah, that was really special. That was good. I got a lot of great feedback from people.
Yeah, man, that in itself, you know, brought so much joy to everyone. I mean, to me, to my family, that we watched it, and I know to anyone who would watch that, I know it uplifted their spirits. There's no question about that. So that was and it's great to hear the story behind it, you know.
Yeah, my kids were pretty proud, and I think my daughter's getting to the age where when I take a video of her practicing piano or anything, she says, "Don't send it to anyone." She's so, but I had to make a deal with her, like, okay, I'm going to send this, but I don't think she realized the scope of how it was going to be like a whole thing, and they're going to put it on Jazz and Lincoln Center's YouTube. But at first she was a little shocked, but then she started seeing, you know, we don't let her go on social media, but I let her see some of the comments, and people were so happy. You know, I was like, man, you brought so much joy to so many people just by doing that. And I think that gave her, you know, that was a good morale boost and
a confidence
booster. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey man, you know how they have like all those, you know, fake Zoom backgrounds and whatnot?
Right.
Yours is real.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, I could see how someone would want to use a fake Zoom background that is yours. So I just want to that's watching that his background is legitimately real. Those are
they're here.
Albums.
They're here. Move this Coltrane up here.
Yeah. So Dan, before we close out, I want to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me and the Lied Center. And just one final question for you is, what are you missing the most what have you missed the most over the last 5.5 months of being isolated?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, the things I've missed the most are the most basic things, is just being able to be in the same space as, you know, my friends and my bandmates, any musicians, because this is more of a lifestyle. Jazz is a lifestyle, and it's been a part of my life for so many years now. So just to hear someone else's sound in a room that's irreplaceable. You cannot replace that. And it's great. We have all this technology, have really nice headphones, a nice computer, great microphones, it's great to be able to talk to you like this, but if I was to sit there and talk with you, it would be even better. We all know that. We're grateful for this technology, but just to be able to, so on a personal level, to be able to interact with people in the same space, and musically, the thing I miss the most is to be able to hear and to feel the vibration of other people's sounds. Even if it's a small club or a big hall, to hear that sound bounce off of something, just physics, bounce off something and come into your ear instead of it going through a cable and wiring through X's and O's over the internet.
And getting compressed.
Getting compressed is a whole different thing. So, and then for our music, jazz music is such an interactive art form, is we're not able to do that in this moment. So everything is spaced out. So there's no real-time interaction. So that's the whole thing, especially for me. I'm a piano player. I'm reacting to things. It's like we're part of the rhythm section. We're jumping on things and reacting. Now it's weird because it's not really even fair anymore, because if I really wanted to, I could go back and re-record. I could check out what Carlos is playing. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll change that. Not that I do that, but because there's not enough time. That's the whole thing. And then I miss just being able to, simple things, being able to play a gig and not having to worry about camera placement and lighting and sound, because those are things that, of course, I've learned a lot during this pandemic.
Sure. And
I'm grateful for that. I've gotten really good at home recording, and I mean, way better than I was. So I got the microphones and learning different software, Logic and Pro Tools, a small amount of video editing here and there.
Yeah.
But I miss being able to just focus in on music. Right. Which we are doing during this pandemic, but there's a lot of extra stuff that has to be done just because of the nature of it. So I miss being able to go to a club and sit in with a band or play a gig and play a blues without having to think about all of those things. So
totally, man.
Music is not as in the forefront as it once was, but it's going to come back.
There's no question about that. And speaking of that, we had originally scheduled to have the band come back in this October, but because of, obviously the situation, we've rescheduled that to a date in March of 21. So I want to close this out by saying we can't wait to welcome you back, the Lied Center of Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas, because you are always welcome here with open arms. And I just want to express our love to you and your family, your wife and kids, and wish you all the safety and health through the rest of this pandemic. So Dan Nimmer, thank you so much for joining today. And can't tell you how much we appreciate this.
Oh man, thank you so much, Derek. I mean, you've always been a supporter of Jazz Lincoln Center. You've always supported us so much. And the Lied Center, over all these years, having us there, it's been so hospitable, so great to us. It's not, you really set the standard for open arms, and we always love being there, and we can't wait to be back either. So I wish you all the best too.
Yeah, man, thank you so much. And you deserve it. I mean, you all deserve it. I mean, you guys are putting so much heart and soul. You put so much heart and soul in integrity. That's the key thing. You put so much integrity into everything you do. So, hey, man. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And
thank you. Likewise.
Your family, and rock chalk, man. Rock chalk.
Rock chalk. Yeah. Thank you, Derek. All the best to you and your family too. Much love.
Take care.
All right.